Have you ever almost made a huge mistake, but were stopped at the last second? 1. Yep, my ex-boyfriend wanted to buy a house together. We looked at a few and really liked one. We signed a contract and each of us wrote a check for half of the earnest money. When we left the realtor's office, he stood in the parking lot and asked me to loan him the money to cover the check he had just written. In that moment, I smiled lovingly and said, "Don't worry about it. I'll cover the entire amount and you can write the next check or pay more of the deposit if they accept our offer." I don't know what came over me. Call it fate or luck. I dodged a huge bullet when I went back inside, asked the realtor to shred both checks, and wrote one new check to cover the full amount of the earnest money. If you guessed that he didn't come up with the next check either, you guessed right. Then, the realtor called and said his credit history was bad and he would not qualify for a mortgage with me. But, and this was a total surprise, I qualified on my own. Bullet dodged because the purchase of the house was not contingent upon any checks written by him. Under protest, he removed his name from the contract and I proceeded with the purchase. I loved that little house and lived there for 7 years. 2. Not so much mistake as one step too many. I was walking down the street, on my way to the office. A man was gesturing wildly to me from across the parking breezeway alleyway, making many motions with his arms. I awkwardly waved, not sure what he was telling me, but I was watching him, trying to figure it out. Did not understand his language. Had he pointed up it may have helped, but perhaps not. I may have kept walking while looking up, in time to get in position and then hit in the face. Instead, he ran across the alley, darting around cars, coming into park, and yanked me off the sidewalk and up against the wall, shouting in a language I later learned was Greek. Then he pointed up. An apartment many floors up and just about 10 feet further down the sidewalk had an air conditioning unit hanging by the power cord and it was swinging and dragging against the wall. It broke free and crashed into the pavement several feet further up the sidewalk from us. We stared at it, and then at each other, and I just wrapped my arms around him and said, "Thank you," about a dozen times. He patted me several times and kept saying "Ises Faiz, Ises Faiz." I repeated that phrase to many of my co-workers, as best I could, and one said, "Ah, probably Greek. Sounds like Isaias Phallus, which means you are safe. Bless him." 3. I was with my high school boyfriend for 11 years. My dream from 16 to 25 was to become his wife and have a family. He was my identity. From the start, I was Gabe's girlfriend. Over this time, we spent almost all of our free time together, and moved in together, despite his cheating, and me constantly needing to help him financially. I would often just stumble into proof of him cheating, what seemed like every 6 months to a year. Things were going smoothly for a longer period of time than usual, so I went digging. He must have been up to something, right? Well, I came up with something that truly scared the shit out of me. A receipt for an engagement ring he'd put on payment plan. That sign that I was on the verge of finally getting what I wanted stirred a sickened panic within the deepest pit of my stomach. It was one of the earliest times I can recall honoring my gut reaction. I wasn't confident enough at that point to just walk away just because it didn't feel right. So what did I do? I began to search frantically in overdrive for evidence of cheating. I needed a reason to break it off. Of course, it didn't take much more digging before I found evidence of him cheating. I'd never felt such a weight lifted from my shoulders. Though we didn't completely end the relationship for another few years, I know, seriously, it did end the idea of getting engaged. So while it wasn't exactly down to the last second, it was a huge mistake I dodged.